And it's really Have I survived another excellent day? Yes. Managed to survive another another excellent day. How about you? How are things in the leaky verse? You've survived by creating the Thanksgiving lasagna. Oh wow, that's cool. My mom makes really good lasagna. I don't think we're gonna eat it for Thanksgiving though. Actually, I haven't had my mom's lasagna in a long time actually. Yeah, I never cook anything for Thanksgiving because I don't cook in general. Usually bring like some chips. Kind of a freeloader, basically. You create the bulk of the sustenance. Well, that's a big deal, yeah. And a lot of work. Do you have a big gathering for Thanksgiving? Not very big. Yeah, I go to my sister's. She lives kind of close, and our parents drive up, and her husband's parents come in too. And sometimes his uncle. Find an incredible gathering for the ages. I mean, I definitely I look forward to it. It's always good food, and pretty chill. I expect I'll be talking to my brother-in-law about the Mike Tyson meme fight. Ah, man, this is so hard to mix. What's up, Dylan? How you doing? Do I defeat my rivals? Only very occasionally. Generally speaking, I'm bested by my rivals. How about you, Mr. Leaky? How's your rivalry track record? To be fair, most people I see as rivals probably don't see me as a rival. You prefer to create incredible allies? Yeah, I mean, oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's ideal, of course. Sometimes you try to make allies. Sometimes you try to, yeah, make an alliance with someone, and it ends up going the other way, unfortunately. Which game do you mean? The game of life. Any game. Making music. I don't know. All of it. Generally, you don't get to defeat your rivals in the game of life. I'm afraid that you're right. I tend to agree. At least for most people, that's the case. Professor Donut. Alright, am I done with this one? Let's see. There's... Life's not about defeating others. It's best to harvest the power of your rivals to bolster your own abilities. Yeah, I mean, I care less and less about that, as I get older. I'll admit that I was pretty obsessively competitive, especially when I was like a kid, and like only with like certain people. But I guess in general. But yeah, I think a lot of that got tempered just by like when you make art, you end up doing your own thing, so it's kind of hard to compete after a certain point when you're kind of just doing your own thing. You make, you know, I might, I try to use that aspect of myself to grow. Like a lot of times it's not even expecting to like get better than somebody. It's just like if I know I'm jealous of somebody because they have some skill, I just I just acknowledge that that's something I wish I could do, and I'll try to use that energy to encourage myself to actually learn it and take it seriously. And it ends up it always ends up becoming less and less of the about the other person and more about the activity, or whatever it is that you're jealous about, which for me is almost always some activity. It's not usually like not usually like a personality thing. Not that I have like a fantastic personality, but I don't know. I don't worry about that stuff. But for instance, I'm like I'm really jealous of like Amelia Huff. So, I just not like jealous like the way I was when I was a kid of people I actually knew in person, but like, I wish I had like that attention, and I wish I had like made some contribution to like microtonality or something. Like I did something like that cool, I guess, and important for music. So I just use that as motivation to like get better. And I kind of look at the things, it's like, what does she do that I wish I could do? It's like, well, she's a way better producer than I am. So I need to learn how to become a better producer. And she like knows a lot of, she just knows the music. I'm not interested in the same stuff as her. Like I'm not into the JI stuff. But, I want to know what I'm into with that same degree of depth. And also, I don't know, maybe to some extent her abilities as like a teacher and kind of how she inspires people. I don't know. You just I just try to use it to make myself better. Make fantastic contributions. Everyone in the chat season heard unbelievable things from Mr. Grodon and became so inspired. Wow. Well, there you go. The cycle continues. Yeah, where it's problematic is when you just like try to disparage the other person and try to bring them down. It's like you gotta be humble and don't be in denial. I think when it's a problem, I think when like jealousy and rivalry and stuff like that is a problem is when you lack the self-awareness to kind of know what's happening. Like when you don't know you're jealous of somebody, but you actually are, and then you just act out in anger, and it just turns into like hating on somebody. Um, did I ever go down a dark path with your rivals? I mean, nothing too bad, but I definitely had a lot to learn. I'll say that. Like I think a big problem for me, like emotionally speaking, like especially when I was younger, was just like like understanding and managing my own jealousy. I would get so wrapped up in a friend that I was like competing with that I would like I don't know, I think it became problematic because in a way I would like forget myself to some extent. And like I would just kind of I'd always end up like copying that person a lot and like whatever they were doing, I would just like pursue that same thing. So I ended up just being a follower. And this only happened like a couple times in my life, but two or three times, I guess. But every time I did, I was like very wrapped up in it, and it would last for like a really long time. And but because it was something that kept happening with me, over time I kind of grew to understand it, and like the biggest thing to counterbalance that was just like getting in my own getting in my own thing, getting in my own habits, and like developing like you know saying like, okay, I really want to know how to do this, and like just doing that. So I was always jealous of like someone who could like it's always like another artist or musician. I was like, oh man, I wish I could do what they could do. It was just like starting to focus on what I had to do to get um to get good at what I wanted to do. And like the better I became at the things I wanted to do, the easier it's become to like separate myself from these other people and to like acknowledge like here's where like my value system is and here's where theirs is. And while we do have a lot in common, we're also different, and like just having like confidence in what I can do and like understanding that what I can do. I'm good enough at what I do now where I'm like I don't get as wrapped up. But I definitely did. And I don't know. There's probably like a deeper problem too where it's like if I didn't have like some activity to like bolster my ego behind, I don't know what I'd do. Probably just be just like as wrapped up in those weird jealousy cycles as I used to be. You're not very competitive. I mean, a lot of artists aren't, but I definitely am. I mean, but in my own way, it's like everybody's like I'm not really like competitive in the stereotypical like rat race way. Like I'm not like who has more money or who has more followers. Like I do care about that stuff, but like it's more like it's more personal for me. It's like when I'm really impressed by somebody, get really and it's like always things specific about me that I really like. It's like someone is doing something I like more than I am. Like that like bothers me. But it also like shows you what kind of shows you who you are to some extent. So I don't know. I have just I think I think it's just natural and normal. Not everybody is very competitive. Some people aren't. But if you are, you should just be that way. Like don't no point in it's not like better or worse to be competitive or not. There's a lot of like I think in the art communities there's a lot of like it's not a race, it's not a competition, but there's for a lot of people it really still is. It kind of doesn't matter what it's just like your opinion. It's like it can be, but it also doesn't have to be. But it's a personal thing. So like whatever it is for you, just let it be that and just do it. Like if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. And like when it is, let it be it. Let it be that. And when it isn't, then, don't worry about it. It's just, you just gotta kind of like just have to learn how to accept the reality of what's going on and just don't Don't fight it. Don't deny it. Don't try to change it. Just, roll with it. Well, I mean, try to change it, but you're eventually going to realize you can't. And then once you realize you can't, then don't. Competitiveness needs to be managed properly. I mean, I don't even know what you mean. Like, I mean, what we're talking about is so vague. Like, is it distracting you from your main goals? Then yeah, you need to like kind of reel yourself in or something. I mean, I don't do competitions. Like, I would never like sign up for like a recital competition. You know what I mean? I'm not competitive in that way. It's very much like it's just something that goes on in my own head, but it's stuff that matters to me. Like I always have like little it's just like it's like for me it's like establishing little goalposts. Again, when I was younger, it was more of like I was kind of going crazy or whatever. But now that I have like self-discipline and I know how to like to get into habits of like I'm doing certain tasks, I have certain goals. It's like now I just use it as like this is setting a goalpost. It's like, you know, oh, it's like, why is this guy playing all these shows? Like, I wish I was doing that. Like, how can I do that? You know what I mean? It just like gets you, kind of just puts your mind on, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not, right. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not like derailing your objectives, you're getting too distracted. Because that was my problem when I was younger. Was like someone could say something and it would like, someone could like tell me what they were working on or like show me this new thing they were doing and like I would forget about everything else in my life and I would just like want to do that. And it's just like if you're just like following what someone else is doing over and over again so that you can like prove that you can do the same thing but better, it's like that's what I would do. Like that was my like unproductive response to it. And I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in a long time. I learned to recognize how it was like counterproductive. Non-managed competitiveness makes some folks. Yeah, and I mean a lot of people they don't. A lot of people just like lash out. They're they're jealous or they will just they will just go against a person even though they're really like deep down they're kind of like they're just really impressed. Like deep down they're really just like a genuine fan and they can't stand it because it means that that person is better than them or something. At least that's how it's been for me. But I don't know. At the same time, everybody's different. I don't know. I don't know what other people's experiences. But I've listened to like other musicians and stuff talk about music and even very successful ones. Sometimes some of them are like very non-competitive. They think that it's silly and they talk about how it's not a competition. And then some of them are like, "Oh, well, people tell me I can't do it and that just lit a fire under my ass and made me want to do it even more." And like everybody has their own reason for doing whatever they do. It kind of your reasons don't necessarily those don't set they don't make you as great or as mediocre or as bad as you are. You can be great and be competitive, you can be great and not be competitive, you can suck and be either of those things too. It's like it's kind of it's those are more like expressions of personality than anything else. You can't I don't really think that you can control that. I think it's I think it's to some extent a waste of time to try to control it. Like some people are competitive in the traditional sense of they like sign up for they try to like win competitions quite literally, and that ends up being good for them. It's a great way that's how they put themselves out there. Some people that's a path to success. I mean, that's fine. Spores balls. Oh, yeah. I was friends with this guy who was like really obsessed with playing really fast, and like a lot of us made fun of him for it to some extent. I didn't really, but a lot of our mutual friends were like, they kind of turned their nose up on him. They were like, "Oh, he's not like a tasteful. He doesn't play tastefully, and he's just obsessed with playing fast, and like he's missing the bigger picture of music." And he was kind of in our small crowd, he was sort of infamous in that way. But I mean, he pushed to like get better, and he could do things that nobody else in our group could do. And when he finally did start like lightening his touch and like focusing on other things, he had all this technique that nobody else really had. So he could do like he always was like too good to play a blues lick, but once he started playing blues licks, they sounded so sick because he like combined it. Yeah, he was a very big fan of Frank Zappa, not surprisingly. But yeah, he would combine it with all his like prog knowledge and his jazz knowledge. I mean, he was a great musician for his age and years playing. I mean, very talented. Like looking back, you kind of realize that we were teenagers and young adults at the time, so we didn't really know how things were gonna pan out. Like now a guy like that can get like so many followers on Instagram. Like you can become famous playing fast and like just doing a couple cool licks. And yeah, I don't know. I think we underestimated him. One's fine. So Check that. You're more of a hater than envious. You get more worked up about rubbish doing well. That's fair. Definitely, I've definitely been there as well. It's no rubbishy. It's different strokes for different folks, you know. My first year of college, I got in this like passionate kind of argument in a class. We were doing there was a lot of musicians in my class, and we were talking about auto tune and Nirvana, and I don't know. I like knew that like Nirvana was gonna be like tomorrow's classic rock, like it's already today's classic rock, but this was before. This was like 20 years ago almost. And you know, some people were like getting upset about, you know, auto-tune pop singers not having a know how to sing properly and stuff, and still being able to, you know, become a famous singer. And I don't know, I was all like kind of jumping on the train like, oh, you know, people don't even know what the fuck they're doing. And honestly, at the time though, I didn't know, I had no idea what I was doing. Like when I look back, I'm like kind of embarrassed. And like I realize now like how talented so many pop singers are, and I was a Nirvana fan too, so I don't know why I was getting upset about it. And you know, they put out really good songs. I mean, Kurt Cobain was a very talented songwriter. I mean, that's a skill in itself. You know, not everybody gets to be that. So, like, I don't know. It's weird when you think about success in music because it's like to some extent it kind of goes against like the American dream. Like we're all pretty much taught that like, if you try something, if you're reasonably intelligent, if you try hard enough or reasonably skilled at something anyway, you just try and eventually it'll work out. You'll do it. But it's like, I don't know. And like really in really highly competitive domains, it's you kind of see how much of it is like there's just so much that goes into it. Like you can work extremely hard for a really long time and go nowhere. It's kind of a weird thing to accept, you know, because it runs contrary to what we're all taught. And if you want to be in like if you want to be like an athlete or a artist or musician or something, yeah, exactly. To some extent, it's like a lottery. Some of it's a lottery of genes. It's like it's not enough to just be talented. You also need to be marketable. You have to have like either have to look really good or have like a cool look of some sort or personality that sort of compensates, some source of charisma beyond your talent. But then again, I don't know. There's a lot of mediocre looking and acting musicians who are famous. Just something else worked out for them too. It's also like is what you want to do what people want to hear, or are you willing to just do what people want to hear? I mean, there's a lot of that too. I think for me that's kind of a big like obviously my looks aren't like helping me or anything, but I don't know if I can blame my lack of success on that alone. I think there's also just like when you're putting out like jazz fusion albums, but you're not like I don't know. You're not even really a jazz fusion guy. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. There's something weird about when you're always doing what you want, but you're not like steeped in the tradition of what you're doing, even to some extent. I don't know. And doing like a lot of different things. Hard work works for boring jobs. Right. You've heard jazz called unemployment music? Yeah. I don't really do jazz anymore, but I definitely did for like a long time. It's like you obviously can be successful as like a jazz musician, but I would never call myself a jazz musician. It's just I don't know what else to call a lot of the older stuff I put out. It's just kind of like the best fitting name. That's what a lot of non-musicians call it, but I would never go up to like someone I consider a real jazz musician and be like, "Oh, I play jazz." I'd never say that because I know they would disagree. But it doesn't mean the music's bad or anything, but just the fact that it's like some watered down version of jazz and it's jazz it's already not even popular. Everyone is and incredible geniuses. But anyway, time to do some air training. That's I mean, to some extent, I am successful. I mean, I do teach music for a living. I mean, it is. I'm a professional musician. I mean, Oh wow, that's bad. You always look forward to Mr. Gordon, incredible philosophies and wisdom. Wow. Doesn't teaching give you the freedom to make music you want? Yeah. So you don't need to write. I mean, yeah, I mean it does for sure. I mean having some kind of income that I'm not depending on, like income from composition, I guess it does give you freedom to focus on what you want in the off hours. But if I was, you know, if I was selling music, then that would be a passive source of income. And if that meant I could teach less, then I'd have more time to, you know, to spend learning all this, to work on like the way too many projects I'm always working on. Definitely like it's definitely like not it's definitely like good. I mean, I'm not in a bad position like if you just look at it generally speaking. Like if you consider like what it, what it can a musician reasonably expect, like income wise, if you keep your expectations low, if you're just looking at can you live, relatively comfortably, pay your rent and all that. I'm doing that, and not everyone can do that even. So it's, in many respects I'm lucky. But you got a semi-pro level at board game design. One thing that stuck in your mind was the guy who did that for a living was most miserable. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I mean, there's like I think I have the sort of mind where it's like I think it's unreasonable to expect to ever really be content. I'm always like looking for how to improve whatever. Like when you're teaching, you're like trying to teach the kids how to improve, and then when I'm writing music and learning how to produce music, I'm always looking for like how do I get better at it? How do I write a better song? How do and when you're practicing scales on piano or pieces on piano, it's always like how do you get this sound, like I'm just always like looking for, how do you get it better? How do you get it better? How do you get it better? And you're always doing that. You're never really content. You get the satisfaction of growing, but you don't really get I can't sit around for too long. Like if I have a little success, obviously, like when you finally do finish the piece and finally do put out the music, blah blah blah, then it's kind of a nice feeling. It ends up getting washed away by the next goal or whatever. So it's like there's always like that push and pull between like if you're really into doing something like that. That's Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like I think when you're creative, like you're like kind of devoted to creating things and kind of pushing yourself in that way, it's like the person the people who are doing that generally are not contented. Yeah. Because you're content in a sort of way where you're happy to be doing what you're doing in general, but like the process is not like just like a bunch of smiling and feeling good about yourself and puffing your own, you know. It's not all just getting high on your own supply. Like you have to earn it. But that too, I think, is like an extent of personality. Like some people are very like they have like their domain. They're very comfortable. Some people, honestly, some musicians aren't that concerned with pushing. They want to get to a certain point and then they're good. And for different people, it's different. Like I know a lot of like local musicians. who these aren't the people you learn you know these aren't famous people, but they're people, they're local musicians, they're personalities, they like dress up like musicians, they have like steady gigs and stuff, and in their local scene they're, you know, kind of a big deal, you know, to themselves and to the other musicians who wish they were getting those steady gigs and stuff. You know, they're like paying their bills and they're, it's a lot of hard work even to get to that point. Like it's kind of strange where it's like it's really hard to be like even just like a very average working musician. You know what I mean? It's like it's very hard to just do that. Um, let alone to actually be someone people talk about and know about and really care about in terms of like your output. Basically, everyone is a genius, however, most are idiots. You're always baffled by musicians who learn to shred but never try to write anything. Well, I mean, some people just aren't creative, you know? I mean, you can't help that. Or they're like too scared to try, or, you know, I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah, for like it's okay. I mean, we have like great classical musicians who aren't really like creative, really. When it comes down to it, they're they kind of benefit from not being creative because they're not distracted by their own ideas and their own egos, and they're you know they're trying to like be a vehicle for a greater mind than their own. And I mean, a lot of times those are like the best. Those are some of the world's best musicians. I mean, if you just want to be, you look at it like from a athletic perspective, almost certainly, and then even if you look at it from like a like even their like interpretive abilities are like amazing. Like I think they have to be like slightly creative to understand the music. But you know, a lot of times like concert pianists, a lot of times they talk about how they learn how to like insert less of their ideas into the work over time, and they like they stop like memorizing the pieces because they don't want to misremember. They're like always referring back to the score so they can check the dynamics and everything. Like they want to take as few they want to take as few creative liberties as possible to recreate the work of the composer as authentically as they can because they just have so much respect for the composers. And you know, and sometimes they, you know, and some great concert pianists are very creative and take a lot of liberties, like Glenn Gould, for instance. But you know, I'd say most of them try to. That's outdated. I mean, it makes sense though. Like we don't have recordings of classical music, so like the performers are kind of have to recordings have usurped any need for everyone but Glenn Gould. Oh, well, I kind of see what you mean there, but at the same time, like because because technology is improved and sound production gets better and better, like we're not like even though like Rubinstein is maybe like better than anyone living today. I'm not saying he is, but some people think he is. Like, you know, we didn't have the same audio equipment. So we're gonna get, you know, we're gonna get the today's lesser equivalent is gonna get us a better sounding recording, you know. And also people like to see live music. So if they don't insert themselves, you can do better versions than a DAW. Yeah, but the music in this case was written to be performed, you know. But yeah, I mean, just slap a MIDI sound font on every score. Yeah, okay, but yeah, y'all know that that's not nobody's Nobody's gonna listen to that. Like not to some extent. But when classical music completely dies, uh, and people stop buying concert tickets, then yeah, we'll just be listening to like the Ableton versions of those pieces. You would listen to that? I mean, you can. I mean, that stuff does exist. Um, Writing music is the whole point. Reviews that today it's kind of pointless to perform live if you don't improvise. Try to some notion of authenticity is likely to die. You agree? Who's Professor Donut? He doesn't know. How does he not know? Crazy clock. I mean, I do improvise at least a little bit when I perform, but I kind of see your point. But at the same time, I don't know. I like seeing bands play their songs. even when there's no improv involved. It's a cool experience, and I like to perform, so I would perform even if I perform my own music even if I didn't improvise at all. Um, Bands don't usually perform with classical precision. You call that imprecision, a type of improv. Been animals as leaders. It was awful. Oh, really? I've seen them twice actually. Once, like way early on, like they had only released Joy Emotion. I mean, not Joy Emotion. Their first, their self-titled, and it was awesome. But Tosin did mess up a couple times, but it wasn't. It didn't like derail the show. It's like really obvious when he messed up because he would like shake his head really aggressively, but he just like would jump right back in. It was pretty badass. And the second time I saw them, I don't remember specifically. I don't remember that show as well. I think they played with, maybe it was Between the Buried and Me or something. I can't remember. I remember the first time I saw them like pretty vividly though. It was an awesome show. But yeah, it was pretty early on. But yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. Sure. The sound was shit. It may have been the venue because when I saw them, their sound was quite good, and they were like Tosin was very like on the sound guy's ass, like making sure the sound was good. Like at least on he's not hearing what's out in the crowd, but he was like very like particular about the sound on the stage, and yeah, Tosin is almost a dumbass. You couldn't hear Tosin half the time. Yeah, that was why he was like he kept like telling the sound guy to turn down Javier. And when you're up close to the stage, like you are affected by the monitors. Like you can hear some of the monitors. And I was like pretty close to the front, so I could like hear how it was changing the sound, but if you were out in the crowd, like a little further back, maybe it was right. Was I even close? I don't even remember honestly. So long. I'm getting old. It was so long ago. Yeah, I could hear everything just fine. I remember like noticing how they would like play the backing track and you could like hear the backing track and it's too loud for you to get closer to the stage. Hmm. Yeah, sometimes like some venues just have bad sound. There's just no way around it. But sometimes like your position in the crowd like makes a big difference. It's not always like you don't always want to be really close. Like a lot of times that's actually a bad spot. Like it's good to see obviously, but it's bad for like the sound quality. The moron behind the desk was bobbing his head with satisfaction. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I mean that's another thing is like whoever's running the sound, like they're in that particular spot. Unless they like run around with a tablet or they have like, like a sound team. If it's a big enough venue, sometimes they have like people on the ground making sure like all areas are sounding good. But a lot of times they just have a guy right in the middle, and I'm pretty sure he's just like he can't. I mean, he can't be in more in one place at once. So he's just making it sound good where he's at. Sound like shit next to the desk. That's not a good sign. I mean, some venues have terrible sound. I mean, I don't. You can blame the sound guy. It might be their fault. I mean, not every sound guy is like great at running sound. I mean, a lot of times the sound guy is like started out as just some guy who hung out at the shows all the time and knows how to run some of the equipment and is probably like friends with the owner or like a couple of the bartenders or you know what I mean. It's not like the guys running sound at every venue or like audio engineers. A lot of times they have like no formal training. They just kind of fall into it somehow. You don't know Tosin's guitar is way too quiet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably bad sound. Probably was the venue. They either need to like improve the sound system or they need to get better help to run it. Yeah. I mean, I've heard so much bad sound at so many venues. Even like larger like medium sized venues that would, you know, have an act like animals as leaders, like it's not uncommon to like have bad sound at a venue. You have it from it right, you're inserting the notes. Is weird. Yeah, I said this on stream before, but I've met Tosin before because my one of my friends went to school with him at the same time at Atlanta Institute of Music. My friend is like a really just stellar guitarist. He's not like as famous as Tosin, but he is pretty popular. And they were Tosin went to my friend's apartment, and I was going there at the same time, and Tosin was just like holding this like classical guitar, and we were talking. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but like I honestly wasn't. I was barely even talking. It was just like Tosin and my friend, and Tosin like the whole time he was talking, he was just like practicing sweep arpeggios, holding this guitar, this classical guitar with no strap. He was just like holding it, and he was like, I remember like he was not dressed like fancy at all. Like he was just wearing like a t-shirt and some like khaki shorts. He like looked like the most normal dude, but he was just like very I don't know. He just had a very like confident air and was very articulate and was just like sweeping these arpeggios. It sounded nuts. And my keyboard was at my friend's apartment, and I just like went to my keyboard and I was like trying to run arpeggios at like the same speed, and I was like couldn't do it. But yeah, it was like before Tosin like blew up. Like we knew I knew who Tosin was at the time just from my friend basically, and like Tosin was sending my friend like some of the Animals as Leaders demos, so I got to hear a couple. I heard like a track or two like before that first album dropped. But like I knew about him through my friend. Like we already knew he was like and Tosin was already kind of legendary like in the metal scene because he was in this band Reflux. And he was already like a known like virtuoso. Yeah. It was nuts. Tosin created Chent? Devate? It's just David or something. You mean to say Chent? Is he nice? I mean, I didn't really interact with him much. He seemed like really cool. Like he didn't seem mean or anything. He's just like you just knew he was insanely talented, and he seemed like really smart and was really confident. Like just like in an unusual way. But again, this was like before Animals as Leaders blew up. But I don't know. He had a special air about him, and he was just sweeping those arpeggios like they were like it was like drinking water. Um, so I don't know. I couldn't say if he's nice or mean or what. It was a pretty like casual conversation. He definitely was not like confrontational or aggressive or anything, but he was very like confident in his opinions without being confrontational, I will say. So to me that's I don't know if nice is the right word for that, but definitely like there's like a certain like social awareness that communicates, I guess. He doesn't seem like he would be. He didn't. he didn't seem like the kind of person who would pick a fight or anything. Um, and but there was this. He was known like at his school for having a bit of an ego. Like the they had this assignment to like learn some like it was like a Satriani or it was like some guitar god solo or something. And like like I was saying, like Tosin was already like a known in the metal world and known as a guitarist. And he was known at the school, of course, too, because he when he went to the school, he was already like better than everybody. He was better than all the teachers even. And but he was still going to the school to get the paper and all that and learn all the stuff. And they had some assignment to like learn this solo. They had to like transcribe the solo, I guess, or figure it out somehow and play it and perform it. So like all the guitarists were taking turns playing the same solo. And when Tosin did the solo, he like added a little extra vibrato on some some long note, you know. And the professor was like, "Oh, well, that was great, but I think it was a little too much vibrato on this one band." And then Tosin was just like, "Google my name." Like he wasn't having it. So. And then like when it came time to graduate, like he didn't do the graduation ceremony. Like he just like I think he like moved to LA like right away. Like the or to Washington, I can't remember. But like he basically had art was like Animals as Leaders was like pretty much about ready to go around the time he was graduating, so he just like he kind of dipped out early. Um but yeah. So point being, maybe he could be a little cocky in the right circumstances, but if you're that talented, how can you not be honest? I mean, it's got to be hard to not be. I'm wrestling? No. I was just there. There's like no chance I probably like introduced myself and all that normal stuff, but like I didn't really talk. I just kind of listened and I just kind of gawked. And like I said, I like ran over to my piano while he was still there and like was trying to like run arpeggios. I had headphones and stuff. I wasn't like I don't I think I either was using my headphones or like had it turned way down because I would have been embarrassed to like be heard poorly executing my arpeggios. You could play a record and nobody would notice. Um, yeah, I don't know. He's definitely like there's no improv in his music as far as I'm aware. And the music's so tight. It's like so complicated, but like everybody's got to be on. Like there's so many like polyrhythms and or almost polyrhythms and it's like weird rhythms and stuff. Like the band has to be like basically like perfect. I'm sure like in his yeah. Yeah, Mr. Lake, I'm sure. Uh like with his solos and stuff, I guess he could take liberties, but I don't think he really does. I think he just like writes the part and then just like masters it. Probably just plays it the same way every time. But yeah, if anybody watching this knows Tosin, you should ask him if he remembers that that short, quiet guy was quietly running arpeggios that one night in Atlanta 20 years ago. Probably like, oh, Gordon, yeah, yeah, I remember. He was very wise. That wise Gordon. You thought about that, and at this point, you don't care about his playing. He's a composer. Okay, that's boring. I don't know. I don't think it's boring. I don't know. I mean, you guys are free to feel that way, but I don't mind seeing a concert of original music being performed how it the way it sounds. I'm fine with it. I mean, there's always gonna be like subtle deviations from the recording. I'm not really there for that though. I just want to like see the people doing it. I want to be surrounded by other fans of the music. And also hopefully you're at a venue with good sound and then you get the benefits of like getting the like the sound in the room, which is always like can be a nice experience when it's done properly. You can gawk at all their gear and stuff and sometimes they play new music you haven't heard before. I mean it's or they'll do like a cover or something or like you never know. Like concerts are I like concerts. Even after hearing multiple times, yeah. But usually there's like other acts too. Like I think they're on tour right now with Pliny, or they're going on tour with Pliny, and like I like Pliny, but I don't listen to all his stuff, so like that that would give me a reason to consider going to one of their shows, because you know even though I've heard most Animals Leaders stuff already, it's like I've barely heard any of Pliny's stuff. I know I like it, but I also know I'm probably not gonna go out of my way to listen to it. It probably would be a good show. If you go with a couple friends too, it's like, what else are you gonna do? That being said, I don't go to a lot of shows anymore, but when I was younger, the Mars Volta Place things, such as something ESP, the create. Oh yeah. They kind of go off and do jams and stuff, so it's like a unique version of the song, yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of improv. But I do think that's cool, but at the same time, you know, sometimes bands get carried away with that. You only got an AL, other folks in the genre never grabbed you. Oh, I see. Well, yeah, what they use, they like They toured, I think one of their first tours was with Dredge and Circa Survive. And that is a cool lineup. But I think over time they've gotten like more with like the same sounding bands. Like it's either like another metal genty kind of act, or it's like another really progressive guitar driven act. Everything should always be only improv, but also very tightly composed via psychic brain energies. You're right. You're right. You're right. And the reason why we don't, Mr. Leaky, I'm sad to admit this, but it's just laziness. We're just lazy. Not you. No, not you, of course. Parsley and Garfunkel, right? Well, Mr. Leaky, you set the example. And as you're aware, you know, it is a lottery, as we were saying. Not everyone is endowed with your gifts, intuition, insight, and ability. But that's what makes you special. Everyone can learn great psychic brain energies. You're just an idiot. Well, you know, I don't know. Doubt it, but maybe. Be surprised, honestly, but be modest. Someday when you've studied under Mr. Gordon Live, you'll ascend from idiocy. That'd be a great like marketing campaign for like a for a microtonal academy. Ascend from 12 veto idiocy. Or like just a good tagline to join my cult. Ascend from idiocy. Follow me. uh, what? Speaking of idiocy or ascending therefrom, how many times do you have to play this stupid piece before I can actually play it? Scarborough Fair. No. Wow. Farmers call Garfunkels to give you a brain blast? You must have psychically sent me one because I think that was fine. I'm gonna move on. Honestly, I don't even like playing that one. All right. Playwright Holiday. And this is only the 3A book. It's already getting hard. I wish I could just do this and not record an album. This is way less stressful. Also, I'm sick of sucking at this. Have I considered playing Microcosmos? Oh, that's not a bad idea. Um, Maybe at some point. I do kind of just want to do. I'll learn these. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Be a good one to try. Well, I want to just get through this whole series. You love Mr. Bartok's crazy modes? Oh yeah, he's got like the D melodic minor song or whatever. It's like a melodic minor mode or something. I've never actually learned those, even on piano. So yeah, it'd be worth looking into. Thing is long. Does get a little crazy. Holy moly. I had no idea this was so long. I thought it was short. I'm not really familiar with him. I don't know. Kind of curious to try that on piano, honestly. I wonder if it's good to teach kids those. I don't know. handles. F. Yeah, I'll start this one. Probably gonna wrap up pretty soon. Okay. I remember. Right. This is an incredible songs. Right. All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna get going. Got to gotta go. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Mr. Leaky and Doman and yeah, and whoever else was watching. I know some other people were lurking for a while, which is cool. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, and yeah, have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Gonna be doing more mixing tomorrow, more linnstrument stuff. Yeah, I don't know what the mix is. I don't know where we're at. I just have to keep checking all the tracks, and but I know we're getting close to the end. It's hard to say exactly how close. Exactly what does that mean? Is it another week, another day, another month? I don't really know. But we'll get a clearer picture of that pretty soon. All right. Anyway, see y'all next time. Have a good one.